Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to a brand new episode of At the Buzzer Sports, where we talk all things basketball all the time. I am your host, John Drummond. Now, we did just hit 1,000 subscribers. Shout out to all my supporters for hitting that subscribe button and liking and commenting. But that does not mean the road stops here. We are still grinding every single day. So if you guys like consistent basketball talks throughout the week, make sure you hit that subscribe button sometime throughout this video. So today we're going to be talking about the Houston Rockets. And for those who do not know, the Houston Rockets have started out this season playing very well. And it's like they're the most surprising yet unsurprising team in the NBA, because this is something I talked about on the Hoop Talk podcast with my good friend Mars Talk Sports. And the reason they're good is not surprising, but the fact that they are this good is surprising. We know that the Houston Rockets are one of the better defensive teams in the league, and I believe that they are top 5 at the moment. And when we look at a team that was top 10 in defensive rating last season, with bringing all their guys back, drafting Reed Sheppard, you would think that they would be a really good defense once again. You have Tari Eason, Amen Thompson, Jabari Smith, Dylan Brooks. Alperen Sengun has gotten a lot better defensively this season, and all of that has carried over. They've been able to create a lot of turnovers, get in the fast break, get in transition, get buckets that way, but their offense has looked really ugly. So in their past 2 games, they have lost games to the Minnesota Timberwolves and the Miami Heat, where they both had pretty significant leads in the fourth quarter. And I'm not saying significant leads as in 17 to 22 points. I'm talking about maybe 9 points to 11 points. I think they were up 15 against the Minnesota Timberwolves with about 4 minutes left to play. So these are both leads that you're feeling pretty strongly about with about 6 minutes left in the fourth quarter, to where if you can just carry out your game plan offensively, you should go home with a win. But that has not happened, and the Houston Rockets end up losing both of those games. And this is a talking point that I feel like has been mentioned or slightly mentioned over the season that I think we should really dive deep into. Because although the Houston Rockets are a great team and they have a lot of young, intriguing pieces, I think there's something that can translate to the playoffs, or it may not be able to translate to the playoffs, and can make it very ugly for them come April or May. So the first thing I want to talk about is these 2 games against the Minnesota Timberwolves and the Miami Heat. There are a few things offensively that I noticed with this Houston Rockets team that kind of alarm me when we start to get to this playoff setting, because we're about 30 to 35 games into the NBA season, and it's looking like the Houston Rockets are going to be a playoff team. Now, will they be top 3? Who knows? Will they fall to number 6? Who knows? But I think that defense is going to be able to carry them throughout an 82-game season so they can get to the playoffs. And a lot of things that I saw in the fourth quarter, it looked pretty stagnant. You see Alperen Sengun holding the ball around the elbow. He's in the post, or he tries to do a face-up game, and it gets to a point where there's now 5 to 6 seconds left on the shot clock, and now a very inconsistent shot is getting thrown up, and there's not a lot of spacing on the floor. Jabari Smith has been a very inconsistent shooter. Fred VanVleet has been very inconsistent. Jalen Green has not taken that leap that we all wanted him to. And when I look at their efficiency, the Houston Rockets are the 3rd worst efficient team in the NBA, with about a 54.7 true shooting across the entire team. So when there are teams that they go against, maybe in a playoff scenario where they could get really hot offensively, let's say they draw a Los Angeles Lakers or a Denver Nuggets, or maybe even a Dallas Mavericks in the first or second round, and there are guys on that team who are just liable to get really hot from 3. Dalton Knecht is really liable to get hot from 3 in a game scenario. Austin Reeves or LeBron James or Luka Doncic or Kyrie Irving or PJ Washington or Nikola Jokic or Jamal Murray or Michael Porter Jr. I just don't think the Houston Rockets have the offense to be able to stop the bleeding when it comes to making shots consistently like these other teams can. So when I noticed that they were losing these games pretty consistently, I went back and I watched the fourth quarters, of course. And then I looked at the clutch points, or the clutch stats, for the Houston Rockets. And as of right now, they're 12th in win percentage, and I think they're about 11-8 in clutch games. So 19 games of their games have been clutch games. And in these clutch games, the Houston Rockets are 9th in defensive rating at 104.6, I believe, which is really good, actually. And what is kind of interesting to me is when I was looking at this stat, the Orlando Magic, through 15 games, have a defensive rating in the clutch of 81.6. And when I look at the defense in these clutch scenarios, that's always going to be something that can win you games. Definitely when you are shutting down the three-point line, you're getting these turnovers, you're rebounding the basketball, that can be enough to win you games in the regular season. But when I look at the playoffs and you just constantly have a really good team that you're going against who may have a solid scheme against you offensively, and they're just able to rattle off 3 threes in 5 possessions, or they're able to score, go on a 10-2 run. Are the Rockets able to stop the bleeding offensively to combat that? And I just don't think they can at this point. In these clutch games, the Houston Rockets are 21st in offensive rating and 30th in true shooting percentage, which is at 49.7%. And now I do think that Alperen Sengun and Jalen Green are just not efficient at the moment. I also do think there is not a level of floor spacing that you could ask for this Houston Rockets team for Jalen Green to be able to create the way you would want him to. And when you're looking at the Houston Rockets' best player in Alperen Sengun, you could say that Amen Thompson is a really close second, by the way. I just think there is a level of gap defense that defenses are going to be able to play against this Houston Rockets team that's going to make Alperen Sengun very, very uncomfortable. And they're going to force guys like Amen Thompson and Dillon Brooks and Jabari Smith to beat them from three. And are you completely confident that that's going to happen? Now we're going to talk about the fourth quarter offense, because this is another thing that I wanted to talk about, because if we know the clutch scenario is when the game is within 5 points within 5 minutes left. So that doesn't get a true grasp of how this team operates in the fourth quarter. So I took a look at some more stats for this Houston Rockets team, and right now they're 27th in offensive rating in fourth quarters, and they're 30th in true shooting once again at 52.5. So when I look at these fourth quarter scenarios, this is obviously, once again, something that is going to have to translate in the playoffs if the Rockets want to win a playoff series, because it's a very good regular season team. But I believe in a 7-game series against a really good coach, there are schemes that are almost written for you when it comes for this Houston Rockets team, because once again, I noticed, or I mentioned earlier in the episode, that the Houston Rockets were really stagnant in the fourth quarter, and they would take a lot of shots late in the shot clock, which could lead to a lot of inefficient looks. So I dug deeper into the stats, and I noticed that the Houston Rockets are shooting 9.5 field goals with the shot clock under 4 seconds. That's the third highest in the NBA. And they're also shooting 3 of them in the fourth quarter, which is also the third highest in the NBA. And then I tried to look around the NBA just to see, like, is there some really good offenses in the NBA that are doing this? Some of the best offenses in the league, like a fully healthy Dallas Mavericks team or a Boston Celtics team or a Sacramento Kings team, even though their offense doesn't really translate to their record, they're still a solid offense. They're not shooting as much as it's late in the shot clock. And when I look at the fourth quarter looks, and something that the Houston Rockets just don't have, and I think there's just not a set offense that the Houston Rockets can go to in these scenarios that can combat these type of runs that they may give up in these late game scenarios, where a Lakers team can lean on Anthony Davis and LeBron James, a Nikola Jokic and Jamal Murray. If Jamal Murray plays to the way he's been playing these past few games, he's been playing a lot better. Or where you can look at a Dallas Mavericks type team, the offense they can lead on, or the Oklahoma City Thunder with an offense they can lead on. Now, this Thunder team, this Rockets team is going to be able to make things very difficult for offenses. But I think the Rockets are going to have to kind of step over their own offense and get over that hump themselves before they get really looked at as a contender in the Western Conference. And I'm not sitting here saying that I thought the Houston Rockets were a contender after these few games. I still believe that this question or this concern right here is what's going to stop them from being able to get into a deep run in the Western Conference. But this is just a talking point that I wanted to talk about because it's been on my mind for a couple of weeks now. So what would be my solution for this Houston Rockets offense? So when I look at the shooting discrepancies and the amount of field goals they take late in the shot clock, I look at this team and say, we need to run a little bit more motion offense, because what I've seen with teams that have centers who can decently handle the ball and decently make decisions with the ball in their hand, I see a lot of dribble handoffs, and I just don't think that works as much with Jalen Green's inefficient shooting and Fred VanVleet's inefficient shooting. Now, I do like a little bit of Fred VanVleet's shooting, just a little bit with the playmaking that he is able to provide. But I do think that there needs to be some type of level of getting Alperen Sengun moving a little bit off ball, getting Amen Thompson rolling to the rim just a little bit more, and just having a little bit of motion to where we can find backdoor cuts, we can find pin downs for 3-point shots. And I just think there needs to be a little bit of motion to this offense so you can have Alperen Sengun making decisions when the defense is on their heels. And whatever you can do to get the defense on their heels as much as possible so these reads can become a little bit easier for Alperen Sengun is what's going to make this offense click just a little more. But as far as my consensus analysis on the Houston Rockets, which this can change, the next game they play, which I truly don't know what team they're playing yet, but this could all change the next time the Houston Rockets play. Jalen Green can average 30 points for the rest of the season on 50, 40, 90. Who knows? Because we're not even halfway through the NBA season yet, and this may be just a little bit too early on the Houston Rockets, but I just do not believe the personnel they have on this team is going to lead them to being an offense that you would trust in a playoff situation. I think Jalen Green and Alperen Sengun, their two best offensive players, have been really streaky and has been really inefficient, and I don't think that's going to get better in a playoff scenario. And I truly think this is going to be a series like the Orlando Magic, like how ugly their offense looked at times because of the shooting problems and the young players, and I just don't think the Orlando Magic have a Paolo Banchero. So, ladies and gentlemen, if you guys like this type of content, please be sure to like, comment, and subscribe. Once again, we just hit 1,000 subscribers, so if you guys like consistent basketball conversations, make sure you hit that like and subscribe button. We are on our way to 10,000 subscribers. I know we're only at 1,000, but a man can dream, can he? So, once again, if you like this type of content, please be sure to like, comment, and subscribe, and I'm out. Peace.